Hello, everyone. Welcome to the very first episode of Dee's Mindful Monday Musings. I am starting this recording. We do have satellite internet, and it is raining. It decided to start raining right now. I had a little bit of an interesting start to my day, but that's okay. And so we'll see if I am able to get all the way through this or not. If not, I will re-record it later. So at any rate, welcome to the very first episode of Dee's Mindful Monday Musings. I am Dee, if you haven't already figured that out. So I thought this little video series would help y'all get to know me a little better, be a little bit more laid back of a conversation, mostly with just me. And occasionally I'll probably bring in a friend or an expert in a certain area that I'm going to be chatting about, not an interview type, not a podcast, but just a conversation. And we'll delve into some deeper into certain topics. So, um, anyway, some little housekeeping things before I really dive into our topic of the day, which is going to be humanness and how we can embrace that and live more fully into ourselves in our human bodies. Um, I wanted to tell you a little bit about myself. You may not know if you haven't been following me on social media or in my immediate physical community. I am an intuitive person, very, very intuitive, very, very extremely empathic. And I do intuitive card readings. I use tarot, I use oracle decks. Those are just a tool that helps bring forth the information. So I do enjoy that a lot. So it's a lot of fun. And I also offer the Higher Mind Mentorship Program, which is if you have already done an extensive amount of inner work and you're ready to take everything to the next level, that's really what this particular program is about. I love working with people also that are at the beginning of their journey, but this particular mentorship is really for people who are ready to take things to the next level and have already dived in to the internal work arena and really gotten that underway, because that's a really big part of what we do in our lives to evolve ourselves and our souls to the next level. So um internet's still hanging in there right now. um I also have a Facebook group that's associated with this podcast, with my podcast, Spiritually Speaking. And I will post the link for that in the description box below this video. If you're wondering what kind of benefits you might gain by joining another group, let me just tell you that you'll be the first to know anything that's going to be happening with Spiritually Speaking or with any of my personal programs. And there are a couple other people in there that promote their mediumship readings or intuitive card readings as well. So there's that kind of community. It's a very safe space for you to be able to ask questions, to learn, to share your own stories, to share posts that you find inspiring or memes or whatever it is. It's a very cool place. I'm very encouraging to people to ask questions, because I feel like asking questions, and especially in a group setting, it helps us all grow. It helps us all learn. I guarantee you, if you are thinking of a question, there is someone else out there that would love to know the answer to that question as well. So somebody has to be brave enough to step forward and ask the question. And I do encourage use of the anonymous post feature if you don't want to have your name out there as the person who asked the question, because so that way you can retain a little bit of that anonymity. And because I know, trust me when I tell you, I know how difficult it is sometimes to put yourself out there. It's a very vulnerable place to be, out there in the limelight where everyone can see you and see how you wear your hair, what kind of clothes you're wearing, all of the things. You know how it is when you're looking at other people's social media, the things that you notice and take note of. So it is a very vulnerable thing, and I do understand that. So that's why I do encourage use of the anonymous post feature. if you have a question that you would like to ask. And I always encourage you to shoot me a DM as well if you have a question. So if there's any participation challenges that I do, I'm going to be doing those once a quarter. There is a prize always associated with that. So the person who participates the most in the group during the allotted amount of time will win some sort of prize if that's a free reading, or I do make twisted wire trees. You can see some behind me here that I've made. So I'm going to be doing the occasional prize of that too for people who are based in the United States, because shipping is a beast, y'all. And so I don't ship outside of the United States. So if you do win a prize that is a physical item like a tree and you're not in the United States, then we'll substitute a free reading for that if that's what you would like to do. So open to that. And let me see, what else do I want to tell you about that? Mainly, I guess the main thing about the group is that you will be the first to know about any promotions I'm running, any discounts I'm running on any of my programs. And I haven't posted it yet in the group, but I will. I have a very special offer coming up here in the immediate future because we are in Virgo season, y'all. And if you know me well, you already know that I'm a Virgo. But if you don't know me well, now you know that I'm a Virgo. So I'm going to be making a special offer on my mentorship and things like that for my birth month. So that will be coming up if you want the details to that. And you're going to have to join the group because that's the only place I'm putting it until September 7th, in which I will spread that out over to my YouTube channel. If it's not fulfilled by then, I'll spread that out over to my YouTube channel and my own personal Facebook profile. So if you want first dibs on anything, join the group, and that's where you'll find all of those fun things happening. So let me think, is there any other housekeeping stuff? Mm, nope, I can't think of anything right now. So I guess that'll be the end of that little piece of things, and we'll move on into talking about humanness and how it affects us. And I'll tell you some of my own personal experiences. So, what the heck is humanness? What do you mean, Dee, when you say that? Okay, so humanness is just what it sounds like. It's our physical body. You've probably heard the quote, we're not a human having a spiritual experience, we're a spirit having, or a soul, or however you want to look at it, having a human experience. And I firmly believe that we are spirit, we are source, we are bits and pieces of the divine creator, whatever word you want to use for that, God, source, universe, whatever. We are all God sparks, I've heard it called. We are bits and pieces of that, and we're having these human experiences, which, if you haven't, I mean, there's just no way you haven't had some kind of experience that was like, just made you realize just exactly how human you really are. So, my personal journey with my humanness is that I had a really hard time doing what I refer to as making friends with my humanness, because some people are very, very earthy souls. They're more attracted, attached, feel more in alignment with the earth than they do anything else. I have never been that person. I love the earth. I have to consciously ground myself all the time. I walk around with my bare feet on the earth as much as I possibly can, because it's very important for me to stay grounded, because I am not that earth energy person. I am more out there in the stratosphere, the stars, the universe, the cosmos, whatever you want to call it. That's more me. So I've had to intentionally ground and had to come to some realizations about my physical humanness. And when I say make friends with my human self, I don't mean standing in front of the mirror and just glowing and gushing over my physical appearance. That's not what I mean at all. I mean my actual just humanness, walking around in this what I refer to as mud and bones body. I cannot stand this term meat suit. I know that so many people use that, and that's cool if that's what they want to do, but I don't like that term, so I call it mud and bones. So walking around this mud and bones body for a really long time was very, very taxing for me, very trying, very um, difficult. I did not look at my physical body as being spiritual. I separated it. And actually, we really can't do that. We really can't, because when we separate it, then we're no longer human. We're just the mud and bones, and our spirit has moved on to another place, another dimension, another reality. It's just one continuation of the soul cycle, right? But when that soul leaves our physical body, then it's the death of the physical body. So we're no longer having that human experience. So I had to make friends with my human experience. I had to. And I remember one day, particularly about 3 years ago, because I haven't always been as aware as I am now, because I've done a lot of work around a lot of things, actually. But specifically this humanness, I wasn't always aware of what I felt as a disconnection between the two. And once I figured it out, it explained so much to me. But I distinctly remember one day I was walking in a RV park that we were staying in, and it's a beautiful place. I mean, just huge live oak trees with Spanish moss hanging. It was on a river. There was so much wildlife. There were hawks flying around all the time, and it was an absolutely beautiful place. And I remember walking, and it was just like I just felt like my soul was just stretching up out of my body. And I had this experience multiple times. And you can't stay there. Like you can't stay out here when you're a human. You have to be in your physical body having this human experience. And I remember feeling like when I came back, like there wasn't a separation, obviously, or my physical body would have died, right? So there's still a connection, but I felt like I was more out of my body than I was in my body. And then when I felt my soul like return completely into my body, I actually felt like I was drowning. Like I felt like I couldn't breathe. Like it was the most insane experience. And I thought, what the crap? What is going on here? And that's when I started trying to figure that part out, doing a little bit of a deeper dive. But I honestly, I did not fully understand what was happening with that particular piece of things until probably about a year ago. And I was on my way back to the back of the property carrying this heavy load of wood. And I thought, I'm capable of so much in this human body. And I just considered my human self to be like this, just this weight, this limitation. Like I couldn't go play out here all the time because I had to be here in my physical body. And it's only been actually just very recently where another epiphany came to me. And you hear people talk about things, but it doesn't always hit home until it's supposed to, right? We hear stuff on different days. It hits us differently. We absorb it differently. We just take it in and experience it in an entirely different way than we did all the other times that we heard it before. And I was sitting on the couch. My Steve has big hands and I have small hands. And this was so amazing to me. I was sitting on the couch and we were holding hands, and I was just looking at our hands. And I just kind of pushed his hand open and put mine on top of it like this. And I was comparing the size of our hands, the width and length of his fingers compared to mine, and how warm he is, and all of the things. And I thought to myself, as we're sitting there watching TV, and I'm just playing with his hand and just noticing all of these differences, and how good it felt just to have his hand against my hand. And I know some of you may be rolling your eyes and going, cheese, holy crap, D, just, like shovel on the cheese. And that's cool if that's what you're thinking. But this was my experience that day. If I wasn't in this human body, if I wasn't here in this mud and bones body, excuse me, just one moment. My Zoom meeting from earlier just finished converting. Okay. So if I wasn't in this human body, if I wasn't here in this mud and bones, I wouldn't be able to feel the warmth of his body, of his hand against my hand. I wouldn't be able to have that experience because as beautiful as spirit is, as amazing as the experiences we have with spirit are, we don't have that kind of warmth there. We don't have that tangible touching. We wouldn't be able to taste, like I have a cup of hot tea here. I wouldn't be able to taste the tea or even know that it was warm. It's a totally different experience. So that even brought home how cool this human experience is, even more than I already realized it was. Because I mean, like, think of how you feel when you see a baby or you hold a puppy and you get to like smell that puppy breath or feel that soft, warm puppy or hold that sweet baby in your arms and smell that baby smell that's just very distinct to the babies, whether they're puppies or they're humans in our lives. There's just a difference in the smell and the feel of them. You wouldn't be able to feel that if you didn't have this human experience. You wouldn't be able to feel the grass beneath your feet or the wind on your face or the sun heating up your skin when you're outside. And sometimes that gets pretty intense and we get hot and we want to seek out the AC again. But you wouldn't be able to have that experience. You wouldn't be able to have the contrast between the heat outside and the cold inside because that doesn't exist in the world outside of this human body, right? So, mm, if you're like me and you're one of those people who's more drawn to being out here in the stratosphere, I call it playing in the stratosphere. Playing in the stratosphere. It's so fun. You're not limited in any way. You can go where you want, do what you want, see what you want. And, like I was talking to a friend of mine the other day, and I'm like, yeah, for a while I thought, this is bullshit. I don't, I don't want to open a door. I want to walk through the wall. Like I just want to like fly through the ceiling and go off to whatever planet I want to see, or, across the states to, the Sequoia National Forest or wherever. I want to just be there. I just want to think the thought and just do it instead of having to open doors and get in a car and drive there or spend the hours flying and the airports and all of the things. I thought, I don't want to do that crap. I just want to be, I just want to be spirit and go do all of the things and fly around and just, or I don't know, fly. That might not be the right term, but you know what I mean. But we wouldn't evolve. Our souls wouldn't evolve. We couldn't evolve if we didn't, excuse me, experience the contrast that we do here on this planet. Like I use we've all hit our baby toe on something, haven't we? If we've walked around the bed too close and hit it on the corner of the bed or, a table leg or something like that. And we are jumping around the house, saying all the cuss words we've ever heard in our entire life and thinking, oh my God, I just broke it and all of the things. And that's a really, like small way to just illustrate that if we never had the experience of having pain in our baby toe, we wouldn't realize that we don't have pain in our toes most of the time. You know, we would never know that. We wouldn't know hot from cold or, soft from hard or anything like that. We wouldn't know those things. And that's what helps us evolve, learning these things. And, we have all these human experiences and we decide we're going to look at things a certain way. And I encourage you just to play with it, just to notice these things and allow yourself to just see them in maybe just a different light and appreciate them, appreciate your body and how strong it is. And instead of beating yourself up all the time and having this negative internal dialogue about your human body, start appreciating it and the things it does for you. You know, your feet that walk you around every day, your spine that holds you up straight, your rib cage that protects all your internal organs and gives your body shape. We would be a blob without our bones, you know, but how often do we think about appreciating them? You know, it's a it's a totally different concept. And I realize that it's different when you first start exploring these concepts. You know, I remember not too long ago when I was talking to this girl at some like smoothie bar or something I was in, and she was complaining because she had all this laundry to do. And I looked at her and I was like, "Oh, but be grateful. Be grateful that you're able to do the laundry, you know, that you get to do it." And she looked at me like I just grew another head and was like, "I am not going to be grateful that I have to do laundry." You know? Well, okay. I mean, you don't have to. You don't have to be grateful that you get to do laundry, but just think about how life would be if you weren't able to do it. Think about if you didn't have a washing machine to wash it in and we were back to the old. I mean, like there are people in this world, and this isn't one of those things like, you know, you can't starve enough to feed someone else or feed someone enough to starve someone else. I mean, those kinds of things are, you know, separate in some ways, but just think about it. You know, like, I mean, there, would you rather do your laundry at a river, pounding it with rocks, or scrubbing it on a washboard like back in the day? I mean, there are so many things. You have the running water, you have the hot water, you have the cold water, you have the electricity to plug it in, right? I mean, there's so many components that go into being grateful for, sorry, I got to turn the fan on, getting a little hot. There's so many components to go into being grateful for things, and being grateful for our humanness is a huge part of accepting it and realizing that it's not nearly as limiting as some of us may think in the beginning when we first start exploring these things, right? So anyway, I just wanted to bring this concept to you. It's really, really been a pivotal thing in my life, and that's why I wanted to talk about it, because I know we all go through these things. Especially right now, there's so much stuff going on in our world right now, and there's so many things that are uncertain or feel uncertain, and that they seem a little scary. And you know, the media does a great job of spewing this stuff at us in the most uh disturbing of ways to make us so fearful that we're just going to be annihilated. And I get it to a certain degree, but you know, death isn't the worst thing. If that's what happened, that's not the worst thing. That's not. And there are so many cultures that look at it differently than we do here in the United States, and some of the other countries that look at it the way we do. But it's interesting. And if you are somebody who's listening to this right now and you do have a fear of death, I did a podcast episode with my friend Jessica on the fear of death. And I will put the link to that in the description box below this video, because I feel like it's a very important thing for us to make friends with the idea that it's a transition. It's completely a transition. It's not the end. So it's not something we have to be afraid of. And I do understand, and I have all the compassion in the world for that thought, because it is different, right? And different can be scary because we've not done it before, and we're not sure what to expect or anything. So I do get that. So I hope that you'll just take some of these concepts and ideas that I've talked about today and think about them, at least entertain the idea that there's another way that you could look at things, another reality that you could look at. I mean, it's not all cut and dried. It's not all this or that. It doesn't have to be that. There are so many colors in this world. So like we could have black on this end and we could have white on this end, but the spectrum of colors in between there, we've got greens and we've got blues and we've got all kinds of different shades of each of those colors. And if you combine them together, they make new colors, purples and magentas and all of these things. So there's all of these different colors. So we don't have to have this or that. We can allow something in the range of magenta or cyan or whatever. We can have something in there that's different. And just all we have to do is allow that to come in. We have to create room for it. And I think that's one of the things that we forget to do sometimes as humans is to allow room for it to be different, you know? So I hope you'll think about those things and and let me know what you think. Please comment, share, subscribe, like, and all of the things so that we can share this information further and wider so that we can teach each other because we're all learning from each other. You know, we're all learning from each other. Just because someone has chosen to put themselves in the limelight doesn't mean they have all the answers. It just means they've chosen to put themselves in the limelight to share what they do know, to share what they have learned, to share what they have experienced in this life. And that hopefully somewhere along the way, someone will find encouragement in that, and someone will find inspiration in that, and someone will be helped by that. And that's the ripple effect that we create when we get in front of a camera or we even share something verbally with someone off camera. And then they take that information and they tell a friend who tells a friend who tells a friend. It's just a broader platform when you're behind a camera and you're sharing it out onto some kind of social platform like YouTube or Spotify or whatever. I'm only on YouTube right now, but I will be expanding at some point. That's just not a priority right now. My priority is to keep creating amazing content for you and at some point have a tech person who will do all that stuff for me because I do the best I can with the tech end of things. It, however, is not my strong suit, and I would much prefer to hand off the reins to that to someone else when it's time for me to do that. So, having said that, I do have my Earth Magic Oracle deck, and being that we are talking about humanness and being connected to this planet in that way, I want to draw a card or two. We'll see what the deck has to say and see what kind of energy is coming forth for the collective today from my Earth Magic deck. So let me give it a little shuffle and see what it throws out at us today. Oh, and let me know if any other of you guys are Virgos. If y'all are Virgos, let me know because we're in Virgo season now. It's very exciting. Oh, there we go. Oh, got a couple of them. So this is so interesting that this came up. And this is one, like I love spirit. I always say you can't out creative spirit. And it's so interesting because both of these cards are water cards. The first one is ocean, and it says ebb and flow. Ebb and flow. So this is life, right? Ocean, ebb and flow. If you think about it in this way, that even without any external stimuli, some days you wake up and you feel like you can take on the world, right? You wake up and you're like, man, nothing's getting to me today. You just feel like you're She-Ra, Princess of Power, or He-Man, and you can just take on the world. Nothing bothers you all day long, right? And then on another day, with zero external stimuli, you wake up and you're mad or you're sad, and you know the sight of a butterfly flying by brings you to tears. You just can't handle anything. Like you feel almost, I used to say it almost feels like the nerves are on the outside of my skin. You know, like everything is just you feel so sensitive to everything. That's the ebb and flow. That's the ebb and flow of life just right there. And now think about how that happens with no external stimuli, right? And then you add in all of the external stimuli from work, traffic on the way to work, your friend had a bad day, they're calling you, venting in your ear about something, which is great. There's no problem with that, but it does make you experience emotions inside yourself, right? So all of this stuff comes in from the outside into our worlds. And if we're not on one of those strong days, it has a deeper impact on us because we feel so sensitive to things. So, with the ebb and flow of life, I really encourage you to ground yourselves because that brings us back to center. There are many types of ways to ground yourself. My favorite way is getting my bare feet on the earth, but there are also some visualizations. Some people like the visualization of seeing roots growing from your feet down deep into the earth. That personally isn't my favorite visualization, but if it works for you and you like it, by all means make that your own and take it. I like to also um visualize a golden cord coming from the cosmos, wherever, down through the top of my head, down straight down my spine and into the deep into the earth. That is also a really cool way to ground. I love that visualization for when I can't get outside and get my bare feet on the earth for whatever reason. So there are many more. So water, drinking water can help ground you. Find something that works for you. I always encourage that. There is no hard and fast rules for how this works. Do something that resonates with your soul. Other people have great ideas and wonderful things, practices that they do, but they may not be right for you. And that's okay. That's one of my big messages that I want to get out to the world is that it looks different for everyone and it's not wrong. Your way's not wrong. It's just your way. It's what works for you. So find the thing that works for you and make it your own. The second card I drew is waterfall, effortless. So, and I said this to someone the other day, just be like water, let it flow. Just, it doesn't mean you necessarily always like what's going on, but, and it doesn't mean to keep yourself in a bad situation if you're in one, but just allow the energy to flow, allow things to be, like I said, not on the this or that, but somewhere in between, allow room for movement. When we keep ourselves so rigid, and I just had this conversation with someone else earlier today, but when we keep ourselves so rigid and we don't allow room for movement, then we're setting ourselves up for breaking, for, I don't even like the term breaking, but we set ourselves up for heartache and heartbreak because it's okay. 99% of the time, it's okay if something looks different. We're the ones who make it so difficult for ourselves. So I invite you to allow room for movement and allow room for flow and just let it be effortless. Just let those new ideas come in and it's okay. Just like today, when I got up this morning, I did my journaling. I had these plans I was going to do today. I was going to have this video out earlier already. And then I got a phone call and I ended up recording a really long podcast episode that you'll see coming up here soon with Michael O'Connor. And I didn't get upset. I was like, wow, like I already had my shower and I was halfway ready and I had already had my coffee and my journaling was done and all of the things. So I was like, yeah, let me just set up a Zoom link and I'll send it to you and we'll get in there and record. And that's what we did. And it was beautiful. But if I had allowed myself to think, oh, I have these other things to do and it has to look like this, it has to look like this, I would have created all this stress for myself that I didn't need to create when all I had to do was allow it to be effortless, allow it to flow, allow it to move like water, just flow. And that does take practice. And I understand that. And, some of y'all might be crossing your eyes or thinking I'm crazy right now for even saying it, but just don't take my word for it. Allow yourself to experience it yourself. Like give yourself the opportunity to embrace the idea long enough to give it a shot and see what happens. See what happens in your world. If you just allow it to flow, you know, like I said, most of the time it's okay. Most of the time, very seldom actually is it as serious as we make it out to be. So I invite you to do that today. So um, I can't think of anything else. I hope to see you in my spiritually speaking group, which I will drop the link in the podcast or in the podcast. I will drop the link in the description box below this video. I want to tell you all, I said this in my group the other day, and some of you may, if you're in my group, you already heard it most likely, but I just want to say thank you so much to each and every one of you who has subscribed to my YouTube channel, who's liked my videos, who's shared them, because I feel like we're at a pivotal time in our reality right now where we need to get this kind of information out to more and more people so that they can have hope and they can realize that it doesn't have to look a certain way and know how amazing they are and know how loved they are. So if you're watching this, please know that I appreciate you so much. I'm so, so grateful for you and I love you. And, some people are like, well, you don't know me. How can you possibly love me? There's a lot of emotions that people share out there and they don't know you. So we can spread love around too. And I truly, truly do feel that way. I'm so grateful for each and every one of you. I'm going to get all emotional, but thank you so much for being a part of my life and sharing and liking and subscribing. And I hope to see you in my group because I would love to get to know you better too. Please take me up on the invitation to join us over there because I would totally love that. So anyway, that's all I have for you today. This is going to be a weekly thing. So if you have anything you'd love to hear me talk about, I truly invite you to drop me a comment, send me an email, and let me know what you have on your mind that you would like to hear me talk about. And like I said, if it's something that I can invite an expert in on or whatever, I'm happy to do that. This will just be more of a laid back conversational style than an interview style, like I have over in the podcast. So thank you again. I appreciate each and every one of you. I know I already said that, but I want to make sure you know it. You are amazing. You are worthy. You are abundantly enough exactly as you are right now in this moment. Please believe that and know that. Take that into your soul and own it because you truly are. So I will see y'all next time on Dee's Mindful Monday Musings. And please let me know how you're enjoying this series and what you would like to hear me talk about. I'll see you next time. Love you all.